This podcast contains spoilers. If you do not want to be spoiled about the subject at hand, turn off the podcast now and listen to a different episode. This is your warning. You're listening to The Gorge. This is a podcast where my friend Sara and I gorge ourselves on overanalyzing a game or something related to a game every week. Today we are analyzing Fallout 4 for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
Aw, you sound so professional.
We did it. We recorded.
We recorded this time. Look at us. It's actually working. I'm so proud.
Okay, so yes, this is a show where we are going to spend around 45 minutes or so talking about a video game. Because we like video games.
And a lot of them, and we played a lot of them. And when I say we, I mean me, and when I say them, I mostly mean Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much all I've played video game wise since November. Except for 3 hours of Tales of Zestiria back in March.
The only time I stopped significantly playing Fallout 4 is to play Arkham Knight, which just kind of happened. And then once that was done, I'm like, okay, back to Fallout.
Back to Fallout 4.
Because that was around the time that the Automatron came out.
Yeah. And then it just ate your life again, turns out.
Yeah, it was just I'm back!
I'm back, motherfucker! And it's just I don't actually remember what video games before Fallout 4 were like. When I was playing Tales of Zestiria there for those 20 minutes, I was like, what is this? Why is everything not a radioactive bombed out hole?
Why isn't it first person?
Why are these controls so weird? I don't understand. And then I realized, I'm not playing Tales of Xillia, and the controls just are weird. But that's another conversation.
We'll do an episode on Tales of Zestiria when we actually beat that game.
When we finish it at some point in the distant future. Probably before First Area comes out. Look at us. I'm getting off topic.
Yeah,
We're talking about Fallout.
Yeah, this is about Fallout. And specifically, we're going to talk a lot about Far Harbor, which just came out.
And we just beat.
Yeah, it's I will say one thing, it's not a long campaign.
It felt longer because there are a lot of side quests and stuff.
Yeah, the size of the map was not indicative of how big I expected the campaign to be, because when you play especially compared to Fallout 3's Mothership Zeta or Operation Anchorage or those ones, or Broken Steel, those packs they were the main campaign.
Yeah.
And that's and you might have had a few other minor quests, but the whole map was centered around the main campaign of those DLCs.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of Far Harbor is they had the same idea they had in the Commonwealth, which is, we're just going to put some stuff here for you to explore for a little bit.
Right.
That is completely unrelated to the campaign itself.
Well, you did miss out. You haven't gotten around to playing Point Lookout, I know, and Point Lookout is very similar, honestly, to the point where you could probably call it, Lookout Harbor.
From what I've seen a lot of Point Lookout, and Far Harbor it's kind of the Point Lookout of Fallout 4.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be.
But with definitely less, I guess I guess, and we'll get into it more, the major, I guess the one true thing I really was let down about Far Harbor, and disclaimer, I really like Far Harbor. It might be my second or third favorite piece of Fallout DLC ever.
Oh, yeah, Far Harbor is a phenomenal story. It's a phenomenal pack of DLC, and good on Bethesda for putting the work in to create something that big.
And something that is and again, we'll probably talk about this more in a few minutes, that is such a marked improvement over the actual campaign of Fallout 4 in nearly every way, which is just astounding that, what would you say, a 12-hour DLC pack? Probably 12 to 15.
If you're gonna rush to the main campaign of Far Harbor, it's, if you're not rushing to, if you're actually taking the time to figure out what you're doing, I'd say, around 10 hours without doing any side quests or doing anything extraneous. You're going to spend around 10 hours of walking around and talking to people.
And snooping. And then plus, there are a ton of side quests, including the single greatest vault quest any game has ever had.
Far Harbor has probably, oh god, would it be? I'm trying to think, but I think it might be my favorite vault of the Fallout games I've played. Disclaimer, neither of us have played 1 and 2.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's something I always keep meaning to get around to, but I keep putting it off because I'm still playing Fallout 4. Whoops.
Yeah.
But no, I think of the Fallouts that I have played, 118 is probably my favorite vault I've ever played. Like, thinking about it now, I'm thinking of all the other vaults that are in 3 and in New Vegas. And I think I can say with pretty certainty that it's definitely my favorite vault I've ever played.
It's especially, I think, a strong improvement over the admittedly lackluster vaults in 4.
Oh god, yeah. Again, everything about Point Lookout. God, here we go.
You keep doing it too!
I know! Everything about Far Harbor is essentially a huge improvement over Fallout 4. But, with that said, the one thing that I think was like my one true major disappointment of Far Harbor is I was expecting it to be scarier.
Yeah.
It wasn't scary I mean, it was like atmospheric and like oppressive, and you definitely felt like God, this is so soul crushing kind of feeling. But like, it's not scary. There's a point where, like, I remember very vividly, the first handful of hours when I got into Far Harbor, and you have to walk through the fog and you have to walk through the forest. That to me was terrifying because I am terrified of the woods at night. Oh really?
Yes, I am terrified.
So
I don't like nature in general. The woods at night terrify me.
Okay.
The idea of being somewhere where there is no source of mechanical light, or there is the idea of the only people who are out in the woods at night are people who want to do you harm.
Or like normal people who are camping. I mean, that's
I mean the woods.
The woods, the deep woods. Okay.
So like that, and so like the first couple hours, like they were atmospherically terrifying. After that, it became another thing. It just became another frame rate dropper to tack on to Fallout 4. It sucks because we remember we got the first trailer, or not the first trailer, the first artwork, where it was the sole survivor on the boat with dog meat, and there was the wave
with dog meat,
like the choppy waters, and it was talking about how you're going to. It was going to be very Cthulhu Lovecraftian-esque, and like, oh, this is the city where we're going to see, this is where all the Lovecraftian books are set. Like, this is the same aesthetic and all that. And we didn't get any of that.
Yeah, no. We didn't get. Unfortunately, we did not get any of that.
And it's our fault for getting our expectations up for something they didn't even promise.
Right, but I mean, like, when you think about it, you think like Maine. That's like Stephen King's domain. That's where like every single Stephen King novel.
And the aesthetic of the art style from the DLC, like, compare it to, we had the DLC or the artwork aesthetic from Wasteland Workshop, which was, your 1950s pinup posters and, that kind of thing. And the trailer was all fun and goofy with the sole survivor narrating, all that. And it's like that set up what the aesthetic was, which was, hey, here's a fun gimmick for you to have. When you see that artwork of it being all oppressive and choppy waters, and, of the boat coming in, you get an idea of what the DLC might contain. And it didn't really feel like that. And again, that's our fault, but still, it's a disappointment.
Yeah. And it's kind of, I also just really
exactly. I wanted more Dunwich.
Kind of side quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think everybody does. That's the problem, is that everybody basically just wants more Dunwich, and they just won't give it to us. And I'm like, come on, please, I'm dying here. I love the Dunwich. That being said,
there are a lot of things this DLC does right.
Really right.
There's a lot of it's very interesting. That, like, even if it's all just like forest and fog, the new monsters that appear in here are incredible.
Oh God, you mean awful?
They're hard to beat, but oh my God, their designs are great. Yeah.
I mean, the designs are awesome. Did you ever? You know, I never asked you. Did you run into a giant hermit crab?
Yes. Where it's in the bus. Yes,
okay. Yes. Oh my God, that was the one part of the whole DLC where I was truly like, what?
Yeah.
Like I was just like, I was the one near the oceanarium, like it's like on the very top.
I don't think mine was there, but I do remember like seeing a bus prop in the map, and I'm like, why is it pipping an enemy? And then claws. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then just claws. Yeah. I didn't even get that because I mean I play stealth sniper character in my current run through, and so I sneak everywhere, and that's a big problem because sometimes you kind of sneak like your highest level of sneak doesn't like running in sneak mode doesn't affect your stealthiness. Like people still can't detect you, so I just run everywhere in sneak mode because it's just marginally slower than normal running, and my character's a glass cannon, so I was sneaking the whole time, so I get to the edge of the bridge at the oceanarium where there is a bus, and I'm just looking out over what's basically a broken bridge, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, this is the edge of the map, this is the one bridge out of Far Harbor, it's gone now, so you're literally trapped on this island unless you have a boat, that's kind of cool, and then the bus next to me started moving, and I freaked out. And they're actually very strong, and like I just mentioned, my character has 2 endurance.
So that's a fun battle for that.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I died and went back and killed it before it could get to me. There is.
What was I about to say? There is one thing you reminded me of a stealth builds and stuff like that. This is just Fallout in general. I did want to point out one criticism about the game in general. And again, this is partially my own fault for getting my expectations up. Building characters is harder in this game, I feel. Compared to Fallout 3 in New Vegas, where your skill points were much more widely spread out. Because the stealth mechanics, from what I've seen in Fallout 4, I don't know for sure. I would have to check. You probably would know better. Is it possible to go through like a camp or an area without being seen at all? Like can you just stealth kill people and it won't alert everyone else in the area? Yeah.
No. And maybe I'm just not doing it right. Because I feel like some of the dungeons aren't really made for stealth characters.
That's the problem. Is that like
running gun.
Compared to when we came from Fallout 4, we came from Far Cry. Both of us did. And that game is built around either or. You can stealth an area, or you can armor yourself up and go and shoot everyone. Fallout 4, being an RPG, is not really built for that, which is a little disappointing after all this time and all of these other games in between, that you can't really do a true stealth run as you would expect.
Yeah, and I know people joke a lot that Fallout 4 is Far Cry.
They have a point in some aspects, but not in the aspects where it matters.
But if it was a Far Cry out, it's a very bad Far Cry game.
It's funny because I was like, remember that poll they had for Far Cry a while ago that was like, pick which Far Cry mode you want next? And it had like, do you want to fight dinosaurs, or do you want to fight zombies, or whatever? And it's like, they had one that was like post-apocalyptic, and I was like, isn't that Fallout? And then I played Far Cry 4, and I went, no, a post-apocalyptic Far Cry would be a very different thing than Fallout.
Oh man, a post-apocalyptic Far Cry, and again, we're getting off topic, but we'll bring it back around. A post-apocalyptic Far Cry would be the most rad thing I've ever played in my entire life, because I realized, the glory of Far Cry, and it's the reason why Fallout 4 is a very bad Far Cry game, is that, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff in Far Cry, and that's what makes it fun. You know, you can drive ATVs, you can go paragliding, or whatever it's called, and you've got a grappling hook in 4, and it has all these cool things to do, and Fallout 4 is let's have all of the run and gun shooty bangs aspects of Far Cry 4 and Far Cry 3 without all that other stuff that makes Far Cry interesting. The complete lack of
vehicles in Far Cry 4 is a little disappointing as well.
You would think they could at least
give
the
like
horse
after building Skyrim, there's with
Yeah.
the advent of the Wasteland Workshop and the building aspect in general, and the power armor mechanics, you would think that there would be some kind of, hey, build your own vehicle. Especially with survival mode,
Or
with
something.
fast travel disabled, you would really think that they would try to implement some way of kicking it up and going faster. Where are my rad horses, Bethesda?
Right. Or like a life-size giddy up Buttercup.
It's there's a lot of things that take place in the main campaign that don't really apply to Far Harbor. For one thing, Far Harbor lets you choose things, and your choices make a difference in Far Harbor.
And they're really well written. Oh God, Far Harbor, and it's
boy, do they let you make choices.
Boy, I wish in my darker moments, and I finished it. You finished it, let's say, an hour ago. I finished it 2 days ago. In my darker moments, having finished Far Harbor, I have thought, like, I wish they didn't give me so much choice, because, like, I mean, I hope Bethesda is listening to this and they're not going, like, let's take away all the choice.
The reason we don't want choice is because
like,
when we got to pick choice, they were bad choices from a narrative standpoint.
Right, but like from a writing standpoint, wow, the writing in Far Harbor is really good, and I'm having a hard time believing it was just Pete Hines who is the lead writer for Fallout 4, and I think right now their only full-time writer on staff, which is mind-boggling.
A studio like that, come on.
I think Pete. Yeah, they also. I know that right before Fallout 4 came out, and I don't actually have a source on hand because I don't have my phone with me. But I do know that they apparently lost a few writers just before Fallout 4, so Pete Hines is kind of carrying the load all up by himself, and I don't particularly think Pete Hines is that great of a writer. I hope he's not listening to this.
I am confident in stating that Fallout 4's writing is not its strong suit at all. Yeah.
No, but Far Harbor, going back to it.
Oh, it's great.
Awesome because
does it basically. Now that I think about it, Far Harbor's campaign is a super condensed version of the main campaign of Fallout 4. Yeah, because you have your three factions, the regular normal ones, the zealots, and the sort of underground ones. But it doesn't have a villain group like the main campaign.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are no bad guys. It's just, and I mean, I guess I don't want to say there are no bad guys. There are actually a lot of bad guys, but they're not like villains. They're just assholes.
Fuck Dima.
Fuck Dima. If I see one more post on Tumblr or Reddit or Twitter or whatever about how nice and sweet Dima is, I'm gonna lose my mind. And I think I posted that on my Tumblr a few days ago. I will literally take the skull of the person they killed and I will beat them to death with it.
Dima's an asshole.
I've never felt, I mentioned it earlier, I've never felt so, like, emotionally manipulated in a long time in a game.
There's several levels of hate you can have for a character. You can hate a character in a series because they do evil acts. Because those are the characters you're supposed to hate. You can hate a character because they're poorly written and you don't like them from a meta standpoint.
Right.
Dima is an interesting character, and there's a really great thing. Rich Burlew, who is the author of Order of the Stick, wrote a prologue to his story about the villain's origins, and he said he wanted to write it in a way that makes the villain understandable but not sympathetic. And I think that is a good description for Dima. Dima's actions are understandable but not sympathetic.
Yeah, I understand Dima for sure. Like, I get where he's coming from, but that doesn't mean I like Dima, and that doesn't mean I think Dima did the right thing. And I don't think that we did the right thing, because you and I both took the peace option, and spoiler alert, there is a peace option for Far Harbor. And obviously
I put up an intro in the beginning, or I mentioned there's spoilers for everything.
Oh, good.
So the fact that so Fallout 4's main campaign has, even if you want the most peaceful option, which in my opinion is siding with the Minutemen, allying with the Railroad, and activating the escape beacon for the Institute before you nuke it.
Right.
It still comes to the sacrifice. You still have to let your son die. That is a sacrifice that you came to terms with on your own. You knew going in what it would cost. In the same vein, the most peaceful option for Far Harbor is you have Dima replace Tectus with a synth. That is not something you choose. That is thrust upon you by Dima.
Yeah, and it's not a choice. I mean, like, I've been saying since you finished it that it feels very Ozymandias or Ozymandias. I actually don't know how that character's name is said. Ozymandias from The Watchmen, where it's like, well, this is all for the greater good. But it is ultimately for the greater good, sure, but getting there feels very dirty, and you feel, I don't know, because you just, if you finish the main quest by the time you do Far Harbor, and if you didn't side with the Institute, then you blew up the Institute for doing exactly what you've done. And it feels it feels
twisted,
like,
because
wrong.
you basically are stomping on the morals that you sacrificed your son for.
Right, exactly. And it's so, like...
And I want to clarify one thing right now. That's good. That's really good writing on Bethesda's part.
It's so good. Oh man, the writing in Far Harbor is like A+. And that's the part that's what I'm trying to get at, is like, there is just something, I don't know, it just feels really morally gross, and you know that in the end it won't last. And because I know you haven't gotten any further, because again, you just finished it an hour ago, but if you go talk to some of the people around Far Harbor and some of the children of Adam, what really stood out to me the most about all of this is if you talk to a small Bertha, who is the girl at the docks, the little homeless girl with the younger brother, if you talk to her about the whole making peace with the children of Adam thing, the only thing she has to say is that grown-ups don't just change their minds like that.
Once I finished it, you sent me an image over Skype from Watchmen of when John says, in the end, nothing ever ends. Like that bit. And that's the ending of Far Harbor is you leave. Yeah, there is no conclusion for, there's a conclusion for the sole survivor. There's no conclusion for Far Harbor.
Right.
It's not over.
No. No, of course not, because eventually, I mean, it can't last forever. There's no way it could last forever, especially if you took the pacifist route, which is funny. You actually did. I didn't. I killed Tectus. I don't know. I didn't even try to convince him, because in my head, I was just like,
you're gonna go all the way?
Well, if I'm gonna do this, I've got to go all the way. I have to go all the way, because if I don't, then it just means that this will
and it's interesting, because the way I played it is my character was not invested in it. The reason I let him go, and the way I justified it to my character, is that he is not invested in the events of Far Harbor. And if Tectus somehow returns and undoes the piece that Dima sent, that's on Dima. So that's his fault. So if Tectus comes back and disturbs the peace, I'm going to claim that as it was never meant to last in the first place.
I get that. It's kind of like, it's almost like, if you think about it, Dima, by killing Captain Avery, the leader of Far Harbor, he kind of created this situation in the first place. And I feel like if if he had never killed Avery, maybe things would have turned out differently.
It's very frustrating
I don't know
to me
how,
as someone with 10 charisma on my character and who by default tries to talk his way out of situations. It's very frustrating to me that even when I suggested, hey, let me just go talk to Tectus for a little bit, he immediately shot that down. He is a character who attempts to feel bad about killing Avery, and then immediately turns it around and says, okay, well, I'll do it again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the most heinous parts of his character. And Stephen Russell is a fantastic voice actor. He's the voice actor for Valentine and Dima.
Okay, so they are the same. Okay, I thought they were, but I wasn't quite sure. They are the same. Yeah,
they are absolutely. Yeah, like half of Far Harbor is just Stephen Russell talking to himself. But I think the performance that Stephen Russell gives is really good as Dima, because when Dima finds out that he killed Avery, he emotes very strongly that he feels awful about it, but then immediately is like, well, you know what? That gives me an idea. And I don't classify that. Maybe somebody will. I don't care. I don't personally classify that as bad writing. I think that is Dima trying to act human and failing miserably at it.
It's very interesting, and it's a discussion that you and I had previously in regards to Sean, which is, I told you that I can't tell if Sean's hypocrisy is intentional or not, because Sean is a very hypocritical character.
Right.
He is a blatant hypocrite in everything he says. He wants to bring peace, but he's not willing to give the Commonwealth a chance. He wants to save humanity, but he doesn't care about anything on the surface. I couldn't tell if that was bad writing or if Sean is just that terrible of a person. With Dima, I can tell right away they intended for him to be that much of a dirtbag.
I think so. And you know, it's actually funny when you bring up Sean now, because it literally just, you bringing it up right now, it literally just hit me, that parallel you get between Valentine and the Sole Survivor in Far Harbor. Because Far Harbor is the story. I mean, Valentine and the Sole Survivor are two characters who are very similar. They are two people out of time. They're both technically, it's kind of weird, from pre-war era. They've lost everything. They both have a dead wife or fiance or spouse, whatever you want to say. And when you get to, and it's like, wow, that's a lot of parallels. And then when you get to Far Harbor, that last parallel just slaps you in the face, because, hey, here is Valentine's only family, and whoops, he's a complete asshole. Like, that's... it literally just
Far Harbor,
actually.
Far Harbor
really
is
writing.
Nick's version of the main campaign.
And it's completely horrifying. Because, I feel like one of the more, well done aspects is when you get all of Dima's memories and you give the fourth tape to Nick about his past with Dima and da-da-da-da. He's like, well, I'll give the old synth a chance. And then, literally, he says that, and you gotta go out and look for
the minute that, Nick, because Nick is very suspicious of Dima in the first place. And we were both like, oh, Nick, you're being paranoid, he's a friendly enough guy. Right when Nick is about to give Dima a chance is when we learn that Dima does not deserve a chance.
Oh no, absolutely not. And it's so, that's good writing. I think Far Harbor is probably some of the most solid writing Bethesda's ever produced. And I hope they keep going on this track for the rest of the DLC, because it is just that whole, it's very weighty. And I spent 2 days when I got done with the main campaign of Far Harbor going, should I reload? Should I do this again? Should I get justice for somebody? Doesn't
it feels
somebody
so
deserve
hollow,
justice?
And the fact that I'm sure that's intentional makes it just great writing.
Absolutely.
It's so
absolutely.
It's kind of refreshing in a way, because in 3 in New Vegas and 4, your character is the hero. Your character fixes everything, and and then that's Fallout. I mean, you're supposed to be Mad Max. You're supposed to be the guy who is a mythic legend who goes around and saves everyone whatever. And
I mean, the protagonist.
Your character is supposed to create massive waves. That's the whole idea behind the character. You're supposed to be a legendary figure, and that's fine. The fact that in Far Harbor, your works basically mean nothing. No one really cares about you in Far Harbor. you do the captain's dance and whatever, you get props for that. But, like,
Yeah, of course.
In Fallout 4, in the main campaign, you become the general. You become a paladin. You become director of the agent. You become a massive agent in the railroad. In Far Harbor, you are just some dude in the Children of Adam. You're not a high-ranking member. You had a fancy vision, but, like, that's it. You're you don't get an authority. You get the captain's dance, which the captain's title means nothing. And in Acadia, you don't get any rank at all. You're just Dima's friend. Yeah. His accomplice, yeah.
Really more like his stoolie.
So that's a very interesting switch up from being the best hero ever to being just someone who kind of makes a slight difference. The biggest person you make a difference to is Kasumi because you bring her home or you leave her there.
Yeah, or you convince her to stay, and of course I brought her home because she's not a synth. She's not a synth. So I'm not. She's not a synth. She's a confused teenage girl, as far as I'm concerned.
It doesn't matter because she needs to.
It doesn't really matter.
She needs to be where she belongs, which is at home with her family who need her, who miss her, and away from Dima.
Exactly, and especially away from Dima. I think everybody needs to go away from Dima, and it's so. I mean, it's really well done. I think I could talk for much more than 45 minutes about Far Harbor.
It's also the fact that, once again, we have gotten a very interesting, compelling, well-written companion out of this DLC. Longfellow joins the ranks of literally every other companion in Fallout 4 as being an incredibly well-written and fun character to interact with.
So
I'm going to drag his ass back to the Commonwealth so that I can do Radiant missions with him and get his story up a bit more.
Right.
But I'm already he's a great character, and that is we've talked a lot about how Far Harbor fixes a lot of things. One of the things it didn't need to fix, its companions in Fallout 4 are literally all incredible.
Oh my god. The companions of Fallout 4 are honestly the highlight of the game's writing.
Not just Nick. Nick is obviously the standout for everyone. Everyone thinks that Nick is one of the best characters in any Fallout game. But all of the companions in 4 are all super compelling and very interesting and fun and creative. And there are very simple things that Bethesda did. One of the biggest problems I have with Fallout 3 is that its companions are tied to your karma, which is very frustrating because I played a goody-goody character, and I couldn't even hang out with Butch.
And you couldn't...
Yeah.
I know, you had to be true neutral.
Yeah, and that's
represents?
hard to juggle. And it's I don't want to murder everyone so that I can hang out with, what's his name? The sergeant and the
Sharon?
The mercenary guy.
Oh yeah.
No, you can get Car on whoever because you hire him.
No, Jericho.
There's the mercenary in
Jericho.
Megaton, who you can hire, who's the evil one.
Megaton.
Jericho, that's it, yeah. And it's
Jericho.
So I could hang out with Fox or Paladin Cross, which meant that I hung out with Fox because Paladin Cross is boring. No.
And is not Sara Lyons, who should have been your your Brother of Steel companion.
Whatever, and that's the thing, is and it's because of that, the companions in 3 were not exciting. And in New Vegas...
No, they weren't.
Even in New Vegas, they were better, but I still think, out of all of them, the standouts were Arcade and Veronica.
Oh, absolutely. And that's because they had... They had their own quests, which I think is what makes the most liked characters in Fallout 4. They all seem to have the running theme of they have some kind of quest attached to it. Well, that's not true, I guess, now that I think about it, because there is Hancock, who doesn't have a quest attached to him per se, but I mean, otherwise, people really like Kate, and they like Valentine.
The point I'm getting at is that, when I played Fallout New Vegas, I juggled between Veronica and Arcade, And I kind of hung out with Cassidy a little bit and Raul, but no one else. But in Fallout 4, I'm constantly switching up because I want to hang out with everyone because
absolutely.
They're all cool.
Yeah. Like, they're all really interesting and well done. And I think, going back to the karma thing, I think one of the smartest things Bethesda ever did, and I wish they had carried it forward more strongly, in Fallout 4, one of the things that I think really could have made Fallout 4 a great game is if they had, and I bring this up a lot, and I say it a lot, if they had borrowed more from Mass Effect 2 and had made the very success of the plot or the way your plot plays out based on your companions instead of just you being
I get what you're saying. Yeah. I having
feel
certain companions should have changed things up based on what they're good at.
Or not even that so much as if you make Preston hate you, you cannot be the general of the Minutemen anymore unless you kill Preston
I get what you're
Garvey,
saying.
That kind of thing.
The idea is that the idea of the factions element in New Vegas, where it's if you are enemies with Hancock, you won't be allowed back into Good Neighbor. Things like that. That would have been a pretty good expansion on that.
Awesome. Yeah, because I think the use of the companions like and dislike system as your moral barometer instead of the karma system and the reputation system. Although I wish the reputation system from New Vegas came back. But the replacement of the karma system with the companion like and dislike system.
I do too, and it helped because it's possible to get every companion to like you, which is good. And there are also ways that you can get companions to dislike you. It's good that you have that kind of freedom and flexibility because I like palling around with everyone. I was afraid that Kate and Strong, I won't be able to hang out with them because they'll want to do evil actions. But no, there are a lot of decent moral actions that Strong and Kate both like. Strong actually likes when you do Minutemen Radiant quests. Which because the milk of human kindness.
But hey, cool.
And
that's right.
even though he likes he likes cannibalism, it's his favorite. He also likes when you rescue kidnapped children. he likes to preserve his meals.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. I guess,
but it's just so, and one of the best things, and I talk about this a lot. I honestly think it's my favorite part of Fallout 4. If I had to make a bullet point list of things, of just little things in Fallout 4 that I like, the swapping dialogue between companions is such a beautiful and great touch to have. Yeah, I want more interaction between these characters.
Why can't we bring two companions? Why can't we have two companions? Why can't you rip off BioWare even more, Bethesda? That's what I'm saying. Rip off BioWare even more.
Running around, it would be great to run around with two. And get running commentary between them, the two characters having a dialogue between each other would be great. You don't have to do it everywhere, but just every so often you'll trigger a thing if you have the right people in the right place.
Right, it'd be awesome. I mean, again, that's what Dragon Age does with massive success, One of the best parts of Dragon Age and of Mass Effect is the fact that if you walk in front of certain things, there are certain conversations that happen between character A and character B. I think that would have been awesome for Fallout 4 to carry out with. But hey, it's cool. It's hard.
It's really hard to criticize a game like this because it's so big, and there are so many things that we want, but they had no indication of ever putting in the first place. It's in general, Fallout 4 is a game. Fallout the games I give a lot of leeway for because they're so big. You obviously can't catch everything.
Yeah. I mean, of course, and it's. Fallout 4, of course, has its many flaws. The fact that it's empty, and the fact that the main quests, the fact they're going back to the empty thing. There are no towns other than the ones you build in Diamond City and Good Neighbor. That kind of sucks. Stuff like that. I mean, it's definitely flawed. Let's be sure. And Bethesda probably could have stood to spend another year working on the game before they actually put it out. But we got what we got. And Far Harbor is a massive improvement.
The best
over
thing about this
all of
is
them.
that they have put out 4 or 5 patches so far. And each one has been a significant overhaul of a lot of things. The survival mode edition, fixing the settlement building so that it's easier to tell who's assigned to what. Just straight up adding things to build.
Yeah, that's awesome without having to pay money for it. Like, just
and they're fixing quests, bugs. They're patching everything. And they have no intention of stopping.
Yeah. I think it's awesome. Yeah, it's the post game support for Fallout 4 is definitely one of the better aspects of it. For sure. I just wish we had gotten. I wish they had just spent a little.
Absolutely. Like it could have stood to stand a little bit more fixing up before they sent it out. There's clearly a lot of places that like they wanted to put more in, but they just ran out of time, and they could have delayed it. But they were really excited at E3 to say, "Hey, it's coming out this year."
They needed to get something out. Which, hype train, but I'm not even. That's another 45 minutes
we could probably do
multiple
episodes
on
Fallout in general, honestly.
We
will definitely come back to some of these games, but like
probably have to come back to Fallout 3 because I could probably talk a lot about Fallout 3 and how good it is and how influential it is.
I think
for myself, anyways.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like in Fallout 4 that really how do I put this? Like they stand out to kind of mark it as like a true sequel. Like when I played New Vegas, I felt like, okay, this is a Fallout sequel. I didn't really feel like it was a spin-off game. I felt like it was more of a sequel. When I played Fallout 4, it shifted my opinion of both games. Where I'm like, okay, Fallout New Vegas is a spin-off. This is a sequel. This has so much more in it and so much more to do compared to 3 in New Vegas, and it's completely overhauled. This feels more like a true continuation of Fallout 3 than what New Vegas felt like. Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely like... I have to admit, I did not dig as deep into the DLC for New Vegas as I should have, because the general consensus is that the New Vegas DLC is probably some of the greatest. I'm very upset at myself because my character is stuck in Dead Money and I have no desire to finish Dead Money, but I want to play all of the other ones.
Oh, yeah. I really need to go back and really dig deep into the DLC, because the story just... within the DLC, you honestly could just blow through. I mean, why would you? But you could just burn right through the main quest of New Vegas, and the DLC is really where the meat and bones is. I was kind of doing some reading about the DLC, and I didn't realize, maybe because it's been such a long time since I've played it, I don't know. I didn't realize how connected.
They're all
connected.
part of.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. It's a very interesting thing. One of the criticisms we can have about Fallout 4 is that there is a distinct lack of character building, and I say that, I know that is weird to say, considering how incredible the character creation kit is in Fallout 4. It is honestly the best I've ever seen.
Oh, absolutely. It's probably one of the easiest to use. It's simple. You can make your character hideous, or you can make your character attractive. I know, everybody knows that in the last engine, it was impossible to make a good-looking character in Fallout.
Because you're going to see your character's face a lot in Fallout 4. The problem is that you are tied to one background in Fallout 4, whereas in New Vegas, your history could be whatever you wanted it to be, and you could play your character however you wanted to.
Yeah. But, hey, if you go back to Far Harbor did do the awesome thing of introducing the possibility, and of course, it could go either way. It's all up to you, really.
Yeah, there is that single dialogue option that can completely change it, where your character reveals that they don't quite remember everything about their lives. that is
Yeah,
honestly
that's
like
awesome.
it can
that
change
little-
anything up, you know?
Yeah, that's such a cool little bit that they added. And I mean, it probably would have been better fulfilled if it had carried out through some more dialogue options in Far Harbor.
Because I like just
Right.
that subtle doubt where it's like, oh hey, maybe, and then it's not followed up on.
Yeah, and I guess that does make sense if you think about it, because the whole point of synths, Gen 3 synths anyways, is that they are completely indistinguishable from people. And so the fact that your character is never treated any different by the rest of the characters in Far Harbor, even after the revelation that you might be a synth, is kind of pushes that forward. That well, you might be a synth, and there's nobody to really say like, well, no, you're not, because I mean, there really is no proof. And the fact that Sean, your son, thinks of you as an experiment, it really does make it totally possible that you are a copy,
but also on the same point, like, it also would help if we could have like a little bit more digging into that, and like.
Well, I know that my character is actually in the middle of the main quest when I play.
I didn't think about that. There might be some, because I know that you said there is extra dialogue if you haven't completed Nick's campaign quest.
Yeah.
And then you do Far Harbor, and then you get more additional dialogue. I didn't think about, and it's probably way too early for anyone to confirm or deny it.
I will hopefully be able to tell soon. I would take money and say there isn't, but fingers crossed. It would be really cool if there was some kind of, you could just even confront your son about it, or some kind of question, and he leaves it. If he left it vague and open ended, that would be even cooler. And it could, who knows? But I think that is a really interesting way to take it, because if you really do think about it, I mean, either if your character is a Gen 3 synth and a copy of the original parent or whatever, then you could say that the director before Sean, who was the guy who actually is responsible for Gen 3s, he put you there. Sean put you there as an experiment because he already views you as an experiment. There's any number of reasons to really justify it, and
it
I
opens
think that's really
the door
cool.
for a lot more of the role-playing aspects, which was sorely lacking in 4.
Yeah. Now, if only we could get rid of the character voice, which was definitely the worst
Here's my problem. I don't mind the voice,
because
the voice actors do a phenomenal job with the characters. Vault 118
Yes,
and
do,
hamming
Vault
it up
118.
was great. I think both voice actors do a phenomenal job. What they
Awesome.
should have done is have a voice choice.
And more
because
dialogue
the problem is that when you make two characters and they both sound exactly the same, that it's very jarring because the character creation is so in depth that the same voice should not come out of these characters. And it's also the problem I had with Mass Effect, but I only played Mass Effect once, really. But, like, for a game like Fallout that encourages multiple playthroughs and multiple characters to build however you want, the fact that there's only one voice makes it very jarring.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird. And I feel like even if it had just been an extra voice, like 2 voices per gender, fine, perfect, you're good. And I definitely think, again, here I go, if you had borrowed from BioWare the fact that the Y button or the X button or the triangle button on controllers, I don't know what it is on I think it's just the up arrow key on PC. Basically, the I want to learn more button is kind of like another yes. Like, that's really stupid. Like, that really makes me mad because sometimes I want to learn more before I say yes.
This is a big problem with Fallout 4 in general. And I touched on it earlier, but the lack of solid role playing, the lack of choice is a huge hindrance in the main campaign. You have 4 prompts.
I think so.
They are yes, more yes, but please tell me more, a sarcastic yes, and no for now, but you'll tell me to do it later.
Right. Yeah. So there really is no true like yes or no or anything like that. And I think we've said this before, just like talking on like Skype and stuff. I think
hold on one second.
If
get that.
Oh, phone's going
no,
off.
I'm good.
No.
Sorry, you were saying.
It's okay. It wouldn't be a podcast if somebody's phone didn't go off. But I was saying, and we've said this before between you and me, if it had been more of a, whoops, here we go, Mass Effect situation, where the sole survivor had a really, was able to be more of a character, was able to actually be his or her own person, then the lack of role-playing options wouldn't be such a big deal, because it's like, oh, you're really playing... And I mean, it's very anti-Fallout. I mean, it would have made a lot of people really mad, but I think it would have helped the story overall. You either have to go, total tabula rasa, blank slate, or you have to go very defined character. You can't really have the middle ground, because the middle ground is emotionally unsatisfying. It's
an idea that I think of a lot of problems with a lot of different games, and I'll probably touch on that in future podcasts a lot, which is you either went too far or you didn't go far enough.
Yeah, and that's a big problem, really, with all of Fallout 4, is they tried to straddle the line too much, being one game or another, and they really should have tried to push it in a certain direction that they didn't do. And that's what they did with Far Harbor, is they finally took it to its logical conclusion, and Far Harbor is the best part of Fallout 4 right now. Whoops.
I think we can pick this up at a later time. Wow,
we've been talking
we ran a little bit over a 45-minute mark, but that's
awesome.
fine.
Well, that's fine. We might have to add a caveat to 45 minutes.
That'll be our safety net.
Because otherwise it's like, oh, well, we ran over 45 minutes every single time. I guess this isn't actually a 45-minute
But,
podcast.
okay, so we will definitely cover more Fallout 4 as the DLCs come out, and we'll talk more about the main campaign in future episodes. I want to thank Broke for Free for the use of our background music. Link to his music in the description.
Oh, yeah.
We will be back next week with a brand new topic.
With a brand new topic. Are we going to...
Yes.
I guess we need to make a website at some point.
But for now, we'll
just be
SoundCloud. For future episodes of SoundCloud until we get a site coming up. And with that, we will wish you all a goodbye.
Soon. And,
Good night.
Hopefully this all works out. Good night!